If you're a cafe or a restaurant owner and this is something you struggle with, nililisip ko po ba yung CR? Magpapap na po ako. Pwede po ba alisin yung onion sa burger? May gusto pong order ng Spanish latte, no condensed. Pwede po ba yun? Okay na po ba ang sugar instead of white? Pwede po ba calamansi instead of lemon? It might not actually be your employee. It might be your system. One of the biggest frustrations for owners is feeling like staff can't make the smallest decisions. But before we call them lazy, untrained, or walang common sense, we need to ask a better question. Did your business actually train them to think independently? Because sometimes what looks like a staff problem is really a systems problem. The first reason your staff keeps asking you everything is simple. One, they lack the basic knowledge or training. A lot of owners assume that once the new hire starts, they should automatically know what to do. But if your opening standards, cleaning standards, drink standards, customer handling standards, and task priorities are not clearly taught, your staff will fill the gap by asking you everything. And honestly, that's not always disobedience. Sometimes that's survival. If they don't know when to mop, what happens before closing, what modifications are allowed, who can approve what, how to prioritize tasks, they will keep checking with you because they don't want to be wrong. The fix: create a repeatable training. Not random verbal reminders, not I already told them before. A real training system that is repeatable, role-based, clear, consistent across all staff. If everything starts from the same standard, you can actually see who learns faster, who needs coaching, who is ready for cross-training, who can be trusted with more responsibilities, and just as important, your staff becomes more confident. Because without basic knowledge or training, you're setting your employees up for failure. The second reason, they might be testing your standards or your boundaries. This usually happens when your staff already knows the standard. They're still asking for permission to bend it. For example, bukas na lang po ba ako magmamap? 1 minute na lang po before closing eh. If they already know that the floor is supposed to be clean before the shift, and then the question is not really asking for information. It's asking, can I get permission to not follow the standard? This is where many owners accidentally train dependency. Because if every time they ask, you answer yes or no, you become the shortcut. Instead, bring them back to the standard. You can say things like, what is the standard? What should have been done earlier? Ano sa palagay mo ang sagot sa tanong mo? Bakit hindi mo ginawa kanina? The goal is not to be mean. The goal is to make them rely on your system, not your mood. If your business only runs based on what you approve in a moment, your standards are weak. If your staff knows the standard and feels the standard, they'll stop using you as a permission slip. The third reason is more understandable. Sometimes your staff asks because they are dealing with a situation that they've never encountered before. For example, ma'am, may students po na gusto mag-record ng short film dito. What should I do? Ma'am, may customer po na gusto mo po sa reserve table. Ano po gagawin? In this case, they may not be lazy. They might be asking because they don't know the policy. They don't want to offend the customer. They're trying to avoid making the wrong call. They don't want to deal with the consequences alone. This is where you need an escalation standard. Your staff should know what can they decide on their own, what needs supervisor approval, what needs owner approval, what to do in gray area situations. If you don't define that, they'll bring everything to you. And over time, that becomes a habit. Another reason owners need to be honest about learned reliance. This is when your staff ask common sense questions because they've learned that you'll always answer them. Questions like, ilalagay ko na po ba? Dadagdagan ko pa po ba? Pwede na po ba ito? Paano po ito? Paano po yan? Sometimes this isn't because they can't think. It's because they were trained not to think. If you're always around, if you always step in, if you answer every tiny questions immediately, if you micromanage, if you helicopter manage, then your staff stops building decision muscles. Why? Because it feels safer to ask than to think. This is why owners accidentally create teams that look helpless. Not because the team isn't capable, because the environment rewards dependence. If you want your staff to stop asking you everything, you need 3 things. A repeatable training plan, and every role should have a clear starting point. Written standard, opening, closing, bring modification, customer handling, escalation, a solve versus escalate rule. Teach your team what they can decide on and when they truly need approval. Because your goal is not to just have obedient staff. Your goal is to build a team that can function without needing you for every small decision. That's what real systems do. They reduce chaos, they build confidence, and they make your business less owner dependent. This is exactly the kind of thing I'll be talking about here on the owner's desk. Real owner problems, real systems fixes, and practical tools you can actually use in your business. If that's your kind of content, subscribe and let me know in the comments. What is the most common question your staff asks you that they should already know? Because I promise you're not the only one.